Well, folks, welcome back to the next episode of the Private Podcast. Took a break last week off recording, just the way the week went. When I'm in Bali, kind of don't really know what the weekends bring sometimes. Last weekend I ventured on up the country and got a place of my own. You've probably seen it on Instagram, and just fucking chilled out for a night. Still haven't drank alcohol really over here. I went out one night and had 4 or 5 drinks at the very start with my friend who was over, but he's away home now, and for the last 2 or 3 weeks I've just been extremely dialed in with everything as much as they could be. Just like, that's the main benefit of being over here, is so I can just completely dial in with sleep, work, training. I've never had things better. I'm grateful to have it, and it's going to be shit enough having to go home now and return to usual life of living with, I suppose, the family and playing for Fermanagh. Back to the usual. But yeah, it's really opened my eyes, and something that I've probably considered is just actually moving out here for the longer term. So maybe that'll pan out in the next year or two, who knows. But we'll get to today's discussion. So I'm going with a bit of a Q&A style today, just with a few different questions that have come in, but also there's a few things that I want to address at this stage that I think is going to help you all push things on another level, and because of different things that have been coming up with different athletes, I think it's important to address certain things around structure, integrating speed and conditioning at this time of the year. Like how you actually structure your week to get the most from each thing, because each person's different. I always say that, but it's true. And then I've had a few questions that are not in the realm of fucking S&C. One is around productivity. So one lad messaged me just about how, since he's been dialed in and he's been going really well with his gym work, his speed, his condition, he's improving week on week, body composition, he's getting stronger, fitter, but he was just saying, like, in work I just feel a bit depleted. I feel a bit, I just couldn't be arsed, I'm not productive. So is there any tips you have for that side of things? And yeah, there is, because that's the side of things I have to nail if I want to push my business forward, if I want to give the most back to use. Even things like right now, like, there'll be a few tips that I will talk about now in a few minutes, but ways that I just go about my day, things that I do to ensure that I have energy and I'm actually productive with my work as well as the training side of things. I think that's huge. Like, it's not all about sport, it's not all about your fucking fitness or your strength or whatever. You can't be thinking about those things all the time. Your work has to be a priority too, because money needs to be put on the table as well, and you need to enjoy your job and have a bit of purpose there as well, and a bit of drive day in, day out, or you're just going to end up fucking hating your life. So I'll delve into it here now. So things we're going to talk about today are going to be, firstly, integrating speed into your week. Now that we're a good few years have probably progressed throughout the first 4, 6, 8 weeks. Some years are probably at the start, but yeah. So I'm going to talk about when, how, why we should start to integrate maybe a bit of speed now or down the line, and then as well as that, conditioning too. We'll talk about testing your fitness levels, which is something I don't do at the very start. I like to get a bit of, I don't like just throwing lads straight into fitness testing them out the back of club seasons, because a fitness test is probably the most draining thing you need to think about and have to do right off the back of a season. It just creates a mindset of the things just that it's the be all end all, when it's not. We want to build a good base in the gym with off-field conditioning, and then now for a lot of years we'll probably turn the focus on building bits of conditioning and focusing on more on speed. So we'll touch on that a bit of, obviously, in the productivity side of things. We'll talk about that, and then I'm going to talk about a few key mistakes that I see with athletes in their nutrition that they're making on a regular basis, and if we clean those things up, we can go a long way to improving results in terms of body composition, 1, 2, energy, and other areas like gut health, sleep. All those side of things are really important to touch upon, but also even adapting between sessions. We need to be fueling the right nutrition. We need to be fueling the right nutrition before sessions, after sessions, if we want to get the most from it. Like, the difference between a good and a bad session can really come down to the type of the food you consume in the meal or the few meals before like a session. So yeah, we'll touch on that. So getting into it now, integrating speed. Okay, so it really does depend what stage you're at as to when we integrate speed. So if you're still in week 1 to 4, of the block. Some of you might have, be still in a good phase of strength. We're trying to build strength capacity in the tissues. Some of you might be working on more hamstring focused work. Some of you might be just overall movement. But at a general basis, we're trying to build strength capacity, tolerance in the tissues, in the joints, and build up just good load and strength so that we earn the right to go and progress into speed and conditioning down the line. So if you're still in that early 1 to 4, that's when I only used to be on the pitch maybe one day doing a bit of speed and tempo. So if you go to your speed worksheet, you'll find that there is speed days within that. So there's max velocity, and then there is I went out of that. Max velocity, and then there is acceleration. Okay, so max velocity, acceleration are 2 different days. Some of you are asking me, can I do acceleration and max velocity in the same day? No, that is definitely not what you should be doing. 2 really high output sessions, pairing them would be, extreme load to the body, especially at this time of year. No, definitely not. So probably a bit of miscommunication on my side, so I apologise if there is, and keep asking me questions, fire stuff at me if you're unsure, if you want to know more. I'm here to help. That's the goal. So I would pick one to start. So if you're relatively new to speed, I would start with the acceleration. So do the acceleration alongside the aerobic tempo, which is in here. So you'll be doing this session, phase 1, week 1 to 4. You'll be doing your acceleration first. Okay, so you'll be going here, doing your acceleration first, going through a general warm-up, which is here. You'll be going through a few of these different exercises, loosening up the hips and the upper body, and just getting blood flowing around the body, getting movement into each joint and opening up range, so then you're prepared to go into the speed. Obviously there's different exercises in that, and then I've got an example there as well. If you click that link, that's an example of a warm-up. So yeah, then you're going into, obviously over here, acceleration session. Okay, phase 1, weeks 1 to 4. You're going through your alternating toe pops. This is just a bit of low-level plyos, prepping the ankle joint and the feet for accelerating. Wall holds, double leg wall extensions. These are different exercises, and this is an updated spreadsheet, so I haven't actually completed this yet. This will be going out soon. The one that you have will have links of exercises that you should be doing. You run through all them, and then you might come to here and you'll be doing your 10 meter sprint, 4 reps, 20 meter, 30 meter. This is the rest period between each rep. It is long for a reason, because we're developing speed. And in the first few weeks, if you're new to speed, we want to keep this. We don't want to be going 100% intent. So you're keeping it around 80-90%. You're feeling that rhythm of how it actually feels to sprint. Okay, and then on week 3 of this phase, you'll add another 30 meter sprint. Okay, so that volume will be bumped up slightly. And then once you've done the 4 weeks of this, that's when you progress to phase 2. Okay, and the same goes for max velocity. You don't go on to phase 2 unless you've done phase 1. That doesn't mean we start these both at the same time, but when you do start each one, you progress through it properly. Okay, unless you are pretty advanced with speed and you've done all this so many times before, maybe then you start with phase 2 or phase 3. Okay, so we've ran through a bit of that conditioning. We're not going into the aerobic capacity side of things yet until later on down the line, until you've done maybe 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14 maybe weeks of the program. And I will tell you that you need to test your fitness. So to do the aerobic capacity session, to do the interval running, which is over here, we need to have a fitness test done, which will be done after you've done about 8 weeks of the program. Okay, so then you'll be able to calculate your mass in here from your 5-minute run. Here, so say I put in 1,400 meters, which would be quite a lot, to be honest. That would calculate mass 4.6. I'd go over to the aerobic capacity, and I would be able to, calculate what distance I should be going for within. So you're using, say for this one here, in aerobic capacity, if you are doing that session, 80% of your mass would be 80% of this value, 4.66. So that could end up being, I don't know, roughly 3 point something, and you'd multiply that then by 180. okay, which is 3 minutes, and that would give you your distance. Okay, so just relating this back to where we're at. So if you're in week 1 to 4, maybe one speed and tempo day, which I talked about. Obviously, some people it might be acceleration and aerobic tempo. For other people, it might be the max velocity and aerobic tempo. Then we want 2 or 3 off-feet conditioning sessions. Zone 2, maybe being 2 of them, and then 1 day of the anaerobic lactate threshold or zone 5 sessions, which I'm adding to as well. So I'll be sending out the new updated off-feet conditioning spreadsheet, or sorry, not spreadsheets, PDF, and there'll be new sessions in there as well that you'll go and you'll get one from there. There'll be 4 or 5 or 6 options. I'm not sure which I'm going to go with yet, because I don't know if I want to put too many in, and you'll choose one of them and you'll do it, and then maybe the next week you'll stick with that one and you'll improve it a bit depending on which one it is, or if you want to mix it up, you change it up. And then we'll 5 or 6 gym sessions in this first phase. So then if you're into weeks 5 to 8 of the program, you might go to 2 speed and tempo days, still keeping things relatively sub max. Delete that out of that. Relatively sub max, so maybe 90-95%. Some days you might really go for it if you're feeling really good, but we're still trying to build that rhythm, the coordination, the timing, how it feels to actually sprint, and we're not overloading our bodies, overloading certain tissues at this time of the year. For other people at weeks 5 to 8, you might still only be doing 1 day on the pitch of speed and tempos, and you might still be 2 to 3 off-feet conditioning. That's if you're still someone who really needs to work on the gym side of things, build size, and that's a big focus, or you're someone who just constantly picks up niggles and injuries. We'd focus on the 4 to 6 gym sessions. And then when we do get further into the program, we're at weeks 9 to 12, it's going to be more of a focus on the speed and the conditioning. So we're going to have two of the gym days will have different focuses on acceleration, max velocity. We'll try and pair that as well with 2 speed days. So I'm going to speak now a wee bit about how we can structure these sort of things. So when you go into further down the program and it's 2 speed days and conditioning, this is when we'll test our fitness, and we'll start to include maybe aerobic capacity or intervals as well as aerobic tempos, and we'll still include 1 or 2 off-feet sessions a week and 3 to 4 gym now. So the gym side of things will come down a bit, and we'll have built up really good tolerance, tissue capacity, ability to absorb force, produce force through plyos, and there'll be a lot of load built up, so we'll be in a good place. So how do you plan your week to actually include it all? So you want to use the Structure Your Week PDF, okay? It's absolutely key before we do anything, and that can be found in your Google Drive folder. So here we go. There's loads of different examples in here. Some might suit one person, some might suit another. 2 conditioning, 2 speed, 2 to 3 gym, balance focus. Some people might have 3 conditioning, where you might do 2 on feet, 1 off feet, or you might do 3 on feet if it's something you really want to work on. You have 2 speed as well at the start of those sessions, and you'll be doing 2 to 3 gym. So this is the way I I have so many examples in here, and it's important you stick to one of the examples in this plan. So the reason I've done 9 or 10 is because the way we want to structure weeks is that we don't want to be doing speed straight after a heavy gym session. We don't want to be doing heavy conditioning or really tough conditioning if we're really sore from a gym session the day before. You kind of need to prioritise the work because it's high output and it's high CNS fatiguing, and you'll need a bit of freshness and you'll need a bit of rest after those sessions to adapt from them. So try and get a structure within this PDF that suits you, because the way I've structured them in this PDF is the way it's the smartest way to do it in terms of not leaving yourself open to injury and actually getting the adaptations you want from things like speed or conditioning or the gym side of things. So here's sample 3, for example, a gym or strength focus. So 3 to 4 gym a week. You might only be doing 1 conditioning. Someone who's already very fit and 1 speed, that's not a problem. Someone who really needs to just put on size, they're already fit, fast, powerful. Sample 4 could be a conditioning focus for someone who is already quite fast, has decent strength, but just lacks in that aerobic capacity end of things. So on a Monday you could be doing your speed and conditioning. Tuesday you could be off because that's a high day, you might need a bit of rest, or you could throw in off feet zone 2 on that day. Wednesday back to gym. Thursday could be a bit of conditioning again. Friday a gym. Saturday more conditioning, and Sunday could be a rest or a bit of uppers. So advanced stage for someone, say down the line in weeks 9 to 12, could be doing loads of conditioning, 2 speed sessions, 2 to 3 gym. But again, there's so many different ways we can structure these things, and there's an example there where you can double days up and you can actually end up getting 3 full days off in the week. So you're actually adopting the model of high-low, which is a Charlie Francis model, where you put all your high CNS fatiguing outputs into one day. So that could be your speed, heavy, ballistic or plyo work and gym. One day you'd rest, the next day you've got off, and then you're going again maybe on the Thursday with speed and gym, again Saturday with maybe agility conditioning. Agility is something we'll talk about further down the line, when we've built up bits of speed, when we've done a lot of gym work. It'll be something I'll be including after. So there's so many ways to skin a cat, as they say. So it's about finding one that works for you. So I'm going to talk a bit now about, I want you to go through that PDF. I want you to figure out, what structure is going to suit me. You need to start writing down weeks and plans that you think is going to suit you. Send it on to me, and then I can make calls or give you pointers that this shouldn't go there because it's a speed day and you might be fatigued from the gym. Certain ways we can structure it. And certain people will be able to double up days, as I was speaking about there, the Charlie Francis model, and some people won't, so they'll need to be a bit smarter with the way they structure a week. So speed is always the priority. It's your most intense and highest output, so it has to be done when you're fresh. Okay, unless you're doing really sub-maximal and you're just working on rhythm and coordination at like 70-80%, then you can do it when you're a bit fatigued, because you're just, you're not going to run the risk of injuring yourself. Then after speed would be your explosive jumps, your throws, unloaded and unloaded jumps, things that are still quite high output. So you're surfing this force velocity curve that is often talked about. Then you're going to talk about your intense conditioning. So work like zone 5, whether it's running or whether it's on the off-week conditioning, is going to be very fatiguing. So you don't want to be planning another high day the day after, something like that, because it just doesn't make sense. Like, you're not going to put zone 4 or 5 the day after you do a really tough or like a high output speed day, because it's two high output days in a row, and you're going to end up frying yourself. So after that, it would be your main strength lifts would be as priority. Then you're going down levels to low level plyos and low level conditioning, like zone 2. At the bottom of the ladder, in terms of things that you don't need to priority, like you don't need to be that fresh for, would be accessory strength work or prehab work. And of course, this isn't always feasible to be able to structure it in this way, and that's why doubling up days can be useful, and it's why planning your week out and sending me on methods or structures that you want to go with is important, so I can help you in that side of things. So we don't want to pair 2 high days in a row, really. Sometimes we might have to, but ideally we don't. If we want to adapt properly between sessions, we want to be fresh and energetic in our sessions that matter, like our speed, like our intense conditioning, like our max strength lifts or our ballistic lifts, like our loaded jumps or plyometric or intense plyometric work. The low level plyometric work, like the stiffness work or the deep range stuff, it's not that intense or taxing, so we don't have to do that when we're really fresh. Our low days then can be utilised with stuff like low level plyos, as I said, zone 2 work on a bike, maybe mobility work, core work, robustness, prehab, or just movement like walking, swimming, maybe getting in the sauna on your low days, ice bath, sea dips, socialising, watching things like Netflix, and then like nature walks where you're just outside and relaxing and tuned out. So right, next thing I want to delve into is productivity. So someone had just asked me about being productive and how that has taken a hit over the last couple of weeks with putting such a focus on his training. So the thing I like to adopt with my work is I eat the frog first thing in the morning. So your morning it's huge. I don't like training in the morning because you can train with energy later in the day when your body's got into the day, but in terms of your mind and how you think, it is freshest in the morning, because you've had no food overnight, you're after a sleep, you hydrate, and you're mentally clear because you haven't taken in any, you're not scrolling on social media hopefully and just frying your head. So yeah, your mornings are key. Get up, hydrate, do a bit of journaling, get outside, see a bit of sunlight. Hydrating with bits of salts and water is key in the mornings. Maybe you have a supplement that helps you, like Lion's Mane or Tonkat Ali. that improves your mental focus and stimulates you a wee bit. Then once you've got into your morning, you've done maybe a wee bit of work, an hour and a half into your day, you maybe have a coffee then. This just allows me anyway to be so mentally clear and tuned in, and I get a solid 2-3 hours of work done, and I put my heart, like the 1 or 2 tasks that I feel like I don't want to do or the toughest, I'll put them into that morning when I'm freshest and I can knock them out. If I try and do this later in the day after I've trained or after I've had a big heavy breakfast or I've had a fucking awful conversation with someone or someone's drained you, you're not going to be as motivated to do it. You're going to feel like shit and you're just going to be like, fuck, I just couldn't be arsed working. So mornings are key in my opinion. I like to push breakfast back to around 10 or 11, so I have that 2 or 3 hours in the morning where I can maybe have I've talked about a few of the things that I like to do, but then maybe having a coffee and getting a solid hour or 2 in where you're really productive and you're dialed in. I think that's a really good tip for productivity. And then you can train. If you're someone who can train in the afternoon, all well and good. If you're someone who trains then in the evening, maybe you can still work around that and do things that give you energy back. Okay, so things that give you, like, energy is taken away when you're working flat out, when you're stressed at work, when you're stressed maybe with just life in general, when you're training obviously. So you kind of get tired. Everyone gets a bit tired in midday. It's just the way the circadian rhythm works. So you need to work around this and do things that give you energy back. So things that give you energy back are sunlight, getting plenty of it throughout the day, in the morning, afternoon, evening. Walking outside, maybe just work breaks every 45 minutes where you're getting outside, you're not on your phone, you're relaxed and you're just recharging the batteries away from people where you're not having draining conversations. Your food quality is important too. So if you're always taking in shit food, processed food, you're not having balanced meals with protein, you're always having fast acting carbs that fucking with no fruit or veg, then you're going to feel like shit. So food quality matters. And then protocols like meditation or the NSDR, which is non-sleep deep rest, and you can get a protocol that is 10-15 minutes on YouTube or on Spotify from Andrew Huberman, but also from other people as well. I think Yoga Nidra is what the actual name of it is, and you can do that after lunch. So find 10-15 minutes you can do that, or even if it is after work when you get home, you're lying on your back, you're going through this protocol, it'll guide you through it, and you're going through your body, you're scanning it, and you're just learning to relax every single part of your body. And after you get up out of that, within 5 or 10 minutes you just feel rejuvenated, you feel like you've got energy back. So utilise that. And then things like cold dips and cold showers, everyone knows they cause huge increases in dopamine and can be used, if you're working from home, there's no reason, if you're feeling like shit, you can't just fucking jump into the cold shower and get a bit of energy back. Then things like caffeine timing is important, not having much caffeine past 2 o'clock. It's just a non-negotiable in my eyes. I don't care if you can get to sleep even with having caffeine at 6 in the evening, your quality of sleep is going to be shit. You're going to sleep, you're going to wake up the next day and you're going to feel like fucking dog shit because your quality's been poor. So just have a bit of discipline, cut your caffeine off early in the day. I wouldn't go for 2 coffees anyway in a day, really, because having 6 coffees before 12 o'clock is still going to cause problems to your sleep because it's a half-life of fucking 5 or 6 hours. So if you have 500 milligrams, it's still going to be quite a bit in your system come 12 o'clock. So yeah, you can do the math on that. So even limiting the amount of caffeine you're intaking is important, and maybe switching to decaf if it's something that you just don't want to lose out on. Like maybe, that's what I did. Like there was times where I was like, I just need it. I like having a coffee by my side. I like to switch to herbal teas or decaf options. It can work really well. Then for productivity would be journaling. So journal your mornings. Like everyone has tasks that they need to do throughout the day. Like we all get brain fog. We all get overwhelmed when we don't have these planned out. We don't have it written down. We don't have an actual structure and a plan to nail those things. Fucking like Andrew Huberman would probably get brain fog if he didn't jot things down in the morning and have an actual action plan. So yeah, have outlined tasks and order them in importance. So you want to eat that frog first thing in the morning, as I said, when you're fresh, and then the less important tasks can be done throughout the day when your energy might be a wee bit lower. So yeah, journaling's key. Planning in your sessions as well can remove the stress of just having to think about those sort of things. So planning your sessions, planning downtime, planning socialising, planning when you're going to eat, those sort of things are important. So you're just removing that mental barrier of having to think about it when you don't know when you're doing any of those things. So yeah, and the last point is about hydration and salt. So Redmond's Celtic sea salt on Amazon is what I have got, and it has been absolutely excellent. So put water in your drink in the morning with a bit of lime or lemon, maybe. Really good for hydration. And even throughout the day too, if you're feeling a bit like shit, I think hydration is a big one for a lot of people. It's not just about water. People probably drink too much water at times, but you have to remember, when you sweat, you lose sodium, you lose electrolytes. When you drink caffeine, you lose electrolytes. So you need to be replacing the salts, never mind the water. It's both. So if you're someone who drinks loads of water every day, I'd probably say cut down on the water a bit and actually increasing the salts in the water and see how you feel. I know for me anyway, it's really helped with energy levels and focus and everything. So last bit, this has been a long episode, longest one in a long time, so I apologise for anyone who couldn't be arsed listening to me for more than 5 minutes. But we're going to talk about nutrition mistakes, because I feel it's really important and something that will make a massive difference in how you adapt to sessions and how your energy feels. So first is no protein at breakfast. I see it too often. People having just porridge with a bit of milk and fruit. Like, you need protein there. You need protein to, one, slow down the digestion of the carbs and the food, so you're not getting a big slump come 11 o'clock, but you also need it to be able to build muscle and build tissue in the body, and for so many other processes that go on with your skin, your tendons, your ligaments, everything. So protein at breakfast, whether you need to add a shake, whether you need to put whey in your oats, whether you need to switch to egg breakfast, add a bit of meat, smoked salmon, bacon even can be a good one. You need to think about these things. Most people will end up getting protein at lunch, because there'll usually always be meat in their lunch. And at dinner as well, nearly everyone will have protein. So even that meal between lunch and dinner as well, if you're having a meal at 3 or 4, make sure you have protein. So Greek yogurt's a good one. I always use both in breakfast and in that meal, or protein yogurts in the shop, and then obviously mixing in whey. See, people ask me, do I need whey? It's, for most people, if you want to be hitting 180, 200 grams of protein, you need to have whey protein realistically, or you're going to end up, your head will be fried trying to fucking eat all this meat and include protein through natural sources. Whey protein is a natural source. It's in food. People forget that. So don't feel guilty for maybe having 2 scoops of protein a day, and it's cost effective too in most places. Like, if you work out how much it costs for 1 serving of protein, like, it's going to be fairly low. So something you should always have on hand. So next one would be not eating enough carbs before sessions. So this goes for your gym sessions and your pitch sessions. So most people will get carbs in before pitch, but probably don't do enough when it comes to gym. So how you feel in the gym, if you feel like shit all the time in the gym, you're probably not actually consuming enough carbs that day or on the meal before. Maybe even throwing in a wee carb snack before the gym, like a banana or a Squares bar, and lowering your fats in that meal as well will help you to feel better. And that's, I'm talking just around the session. It doesn't need to be a full day of loading up for a gym session, no way, but having a focus on it is important. And then on your off days, you can up your healthy fats, you can take your carbohydrates down a bit, and you can do it that way. So again, not enough salts taken in is another nutrition mistake. I've talked about that already. Putting salt over your meals is fine as well, as long as it is that good high quality salt, like the Redmond's one. Himalayan salt is pretty good as well. Salt in meals. If you're actually training and you're out putting sweat. Obviously, if you're doing fuck all, there's no point in throwing salt in, because you're not losing much. So give it a go anyway and see how it makes you feel. And it makes food 100 times nicer. There's just such a negative outlook on salt from fucking Karens all around the country, thinking it's the worst thing in the world. So it's not. It's 100% not the worst thing, and it's a really, really beneficial supplement. I'm talking about it as a supplement. It's not even a supplement, it's just fucking salt, like. And it's huge for cramping. I can't underestimate it enough. And it's not just a pinch people need, it's more than that throughout the day. But anyway, too many fats in the pre and post meal, that's another thing I see. I talked about that already. Eating carb and calorie heavy breakfast when you're not required. Okay, so certain days when you're not training to maybe the evening in the gym. Say you have a gym session in the evening and you're going in the morning and you're having this big carb heavy fucking, I don't know, bowl of oats with no protein and a big banana. There's a high chance your energy's going to crash, or you're not going to feel great. So you need to be strategic. So a good balanced breakfast on the morning could be, if you're not doing gym for the evening, could be a bit of sourdough, maybe 1 slice of sourdough, 3 eggs, a bit of avocado and a bit of veg, or maybe just the avocado mashed, on the 3 eggs. Or an egg whites could go in there as well if you need up protein, or protein yogurt. You want to get fats in at that stage, breakfast is key. If you're this is applicable if you're someone who does struggle with energy. Obviously, if you have a big training session in the evening, you want to be getting your carbs in throughout the day, or if you're training in the afternoon, you want to be getting carbs into that breakfast. But knowing what's in certain foods. The next point would be not tracking well enough to know what is in certain foods. So you need to have that period of tracking, weighing foods, seeing what carbs is in what foods, what's high in fibre, what's low in fat, what's high in fat, what's high in protein, what's actual high quality protein and what's shit quality protein. People still think that fucking nuts and seeds are good high protein sources. They're absolute wank when it comes to protein. So you need to have tracked and learned about these sort of things and know what's in certain foods, so you know what to consume at certain parts of the day. Okay, when I talk about things like reducing fibre, or upping fibre, or reducing fats, straight away, okay, right, that food there has, say if it's vegetables, they're high in fibre, maybe you don't need to consume loads of them in the meal before a game. Small things like this you just learn as you go when you track, and you learn more about foods. The next one would be not having handy go-to options when you're stuck. So whey protein, oats, that's overnight oats, whether it's just in the house handy oats, tuna pots when you've no meat in the house, you're lacking protein, leftover meals, maybe it's from dinner the night before, maybe it's just fast meals that you've bought, healthy food prep companies, and then things like eggs, boiled eggs, or having chicken pre-cooked in the fridge. You might cook a large chicken at the start of the weekend. We've talked about this before in another podcast. Having fruit handy, knowing which fruits work well. So obviously berries is a really good snack because they're quite high in fibre, they're low calorie. They work probably the best when it comes to fruit if it's just a snack you're needing. And this obviously is more like, things change if you're someone who needs to put on size, lose body fat. Certain snacks are going to be different for each people. Okay, so next, not spacing protein intake across the day. This is a big one I see. We want to be getting at least 4 intakes of good 30 to 40 high quality protein. This could look like morning time, for example, an omelette with, say a bit of chicken in it, or bacon, right? There's good protein. Lunchtime, you might have a chicken salad or a chicken curry with a bit of a bagel or something. You've got your chicken in that meal. Midday, 3 or 4, say you have another meal, say you have fat-free Greek yogurt with a scoop of protein in it, a bit of granola, or nuts and seeds, and a bit of berries, fruit, whatever it is. There's a good source of protein in there with the whey protein in the Greek yogurt. And then at dinner, say you're at home, spaghetti bolognese, good source of protein there. You might have a protein yogurt after. Simple things. Say you trained as well that day and you had a shake after, or you had a shake before. There's another wee bump of protein. So simulating muscle protein synthesis throughout the day is more important than fucking having 2 big meals with 60 or 70 grams in it. It's still better than not having enough, but if we want to go optimal, we want to increase our chances of adapting between sessions and building muscle and building strength and recovering between sessions. These things are all important. So I've talked enough. I'm done now. I hope you took value from that and learned a lot. Please let me know how you thought that went. If you want more, if you have other questions, you have other queries, you have other topics you want covered, let me know and I'll run through them. So have a good one, and next podcast will probably be when I'm back on home soil. Good luck.